I spent years going to different hairdressers, and I had so many just annoying experiences where I was like, no, I don't want it to be softer. And then I get a 50-year-old lady's pixie cut.
Yeah.
Like a Karen kind of thing.
Yeah, a Karen. Yeah.
No, that's
you don't want to be a Karen.
You don't understand me. And when I go no, just short up the back, and they're like, but that's very harsh. That's very masculine. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's the point. Welcome everyone to Guys Trip, a podcast of the artists, by the artists, and for the artists.
With me.
Yes, and today we are joined by
Manu.
Visual artist.
Yes.
Designer.
Yes.
And what else? What are other titles should I?
I'll give myself some titles.
Yes.
Designer, you've already got. Illustrator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the software.
Not the software, but the person who does the illustrating. Yeah. And by force of habit, also kind of social media person, content creator. It says on my official job
Influencer.
title. No, not an influencer. I just make content for other people.
You don't have an OnlyFans.
I do not have an OnlyFans.
Okay.
I'm not sure that somebody would like to see that. I think that would also push some boundaries of my own and humanity. No. So mostly visual stuff. In my spare time, when I have any, I do a lot of illustration, and then for work, I do also a lot of video stuff and kind of content.
Nice. Cool. All right. So I'll introduce you to the format. So we'll be interviewing each other.
Yes.
I'll ask you 5 questions. You will ask me 5 questions.
I did come up with.
But before we begin, let's set up some ground rules. So this is a safe space.
Okay.
So if I ask anything that makes you uncomfortable or you just don't want to answer, you can reject the questions. Yeah.
Talk to the hand.
Yeah, but it's only a safe space for you. You can ask me whatever you want, and I have to answer.
I can make you unsafe.
Yes, exactly.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't like to make anybody feel unsafe.
You don't have to, but you can.
Now that it's an option.
Exactly.
Is this how people feel?
Use this power well.
Yeah.
You can decide who goes first.
Oh.
If you ask me the first question or I ask you the first question.
All right.
And this also means who goes last, because if I ask you the first question, you will be asking me the last question.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Maths.
Yeah, maths. You don't have to decide now because there's still some rules.
Okay. You finish first.
Yeah. Each question can lead to a discussion of up to 10 minutes. I don't have a stopwatch. There won't be a buzzer going on with whenever we reach this point. But we'll try to cap it. But sometimes it goes a bit longer than this, and if it's interesting,
Fair.
we just keep it up. And at the end of each question, we make a toast with a delicious whiskey.
Just to note, it is 10 a.m.
It's 10 a.m. For me, it's whiskey all the time, anytime. But I understand that the faint of heart might
I'm not usually the faint of heart. I still have to get on a bus today, but I think you'll be fine.
The fate of livers.
The fate of my liver.
Yeah.
Let's see. But since I used to live in Scotland for a while, my friends would say, don't be weak. You can do it.
to quote a great U.S. president, don't.
Just don't.
This is another rule I said. If we're gonna mention anyone that is not like famous, like someone that we know by name, let's not mention them negatively.
Oh no, would never.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
Great.
Hey Cleo.
Hello.
I see you. I see you watching this video. Wait, there's the camera. Horrible person. This Cleo.
I'll keep my right to. How is
Edit that out.
What's the phrase? You have the right to remain silent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that the Fifth Amendment in America?
It's one of them.
One of them. Yeah. The one that isn't the one with the guns.
Yes. No. The guns is the Second Amendment, right?
That's crazy.
Like
that comes first.
Yeah, like First Amendment, it's speech, and then guns.
Crazy.
Like you have to speak, and then wait, if he says something I don't like, I need to be able to shoot him.
Yeah.
Guns.
I see the logic there.
Yeah. Cool. So, who goes first?
I have a quick question to that. For example, if I ask you a question, do we both then answer it, or do you just answer the question I ask you?
I mean, it can go either. Like it's like again, the question is just like the format in order to get to like an interesting discussion.
Cool.
So yeah,
because I have I can go first. Yeah. And I thought about what I would answer to this question, and I actually have no idea.
So you don't want me to bounce the question back
like,
to
don't
you?
bounce it back to me.
Okay.
No. I'm sure it will lead to something. But what would you say that you would say, or that other people would say, is the weirdest thing about you as a person?
The weirdest thing about me as a person? That's a great question. I think it really depends who you ask.
Yeah, right?
Because, for those who don't know, I have a full-time job in the tech industry.
Mm-hmm.
So for like my artist friends, probably like it will be really weird for them, some of the stuff that I do there, that like I care a lot about like security and compliance.
Yeah. It's like, seems very unlike you.
Yeah. But for my friends from the tech industry, like everything that they do relating to this,
hella weird, man.
like weirds them out. So like, it like really depends who you ask. But like, let's think of something that is like objectively weird.
Yeah.
Because everyone has something that is objectively weird about them. Let's think.
Maybe I thought of one for myself, actually.
Okay.
Because like, as you're saying, like objectively weird.
Yeah.
Because like, there's like, as a like queer person, a trans person, there's a lot of people who are like, you're weird because you're queer, you're trans, and all of that. But then for my queer trans friends, they're like, wait, you work in like an agency, you do like media things, like that's weird. But objectively, I don't like my belly button touched. And maybe that's weird.
Interesting.
Maybe that's something
it's
that's
a very
weird.
sensitive area.
I was like, I hate it. I will like accidentally punch you if you try and touch my belly button. Even my partner's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I just hate it. Like I hate the sensation of it.
Of having your belly button
Yeah,
touched,
like people, like I've always had people, you know, you're like, like fun, and like trying to put the finger on your belly button, and I just, I lose it.
So question 4 should be erased. It was, can I touch your belly button? So
no.
Good. We got the answer for that.
Does that help you find something that's objectively weird? If I share mine, that's objectively weird.
I think like, I don't know if it's weird, but like I haven't had my hair cut for over a decade.
Wow.
And it just like stays in this length.
That's crazy though.
Yeah. So I guess like it's a weird in a way. Like, I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't grow because you need your ends cut.
I think so. I just like don't trust anyone with scissors around my hair. You know?
I kind of understand that though.
Yeah.
Like I see that. I've spent years trying to find the right like barber because I've always wanted to go to like a kind of men's barber, but a lot of the ones in Austria, they say like men only, and I just like I'm too scared to walk in because they'll be like, go away. So I spent years going to different hairdressers, and I had so many like just like annoying experiences where it's like, no, I don't want it to be like softer. And then I get like a 50-year-old lady's like pixie cut.
Yeah.
Like, like a Karen
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
Like,
Karen.
it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's
You don't
not,
want to be a
like,
Karen.
you don't understand me. And when I go like, no, just short up the back, and they're like, but that's very harsh. That's very masculine. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's the point.
But now I found the right hairdresser, and I will never like leave him. He's married to me now.
He's married to you. Nice.
It's like Khalid, if you hear this, you are mine. Yeah, but I get it.
But this is a thing like about like just like the way I dress. Should it be something weird by my personality? Because I think it's really hard to judge yourself, right? As like weird.
Yeah.
Or not weird, because like you live with yourself every day. So like, of course, that's not weird.
Yeah.
Like pooping standing up, that's not weird.
No, that's not weird. That's fine. I do that. Don't other people do that?
Yeah. Like masturbating with only one finger, that's not weird. I guess for women it's like normal, right? But like for
one finger's still a bit.
For
I don't know. Let's not go into detail.
Yeah.
But
like for men, it would be really hard.
That would be very strange.
It's like
that's more like a petting.
Yeah. It's like, how sensitive is your member?
Oh God. But I always used to. So I think the question of weird for me is quite interesting, because when I was a kid or a teenager growing up, I always thought, not that I thought that I was weird, but I was always under the impression everybody else thinks I'm weird.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like there's not really anywhere I fit in totally. Now I'm kind of like, it's because you're trans and you're gay and you haven't, like, you felt like you weren't right. So it's hard to find your place in groups when you feel like, oh, but they see me as somebody I'm not. And it's very strange. So I always thought, oh, everybody just thinks I'm really weird. Like, I can't make friends because they think I'm weird. When in reality, I talk to people later, like way later in life, and they were like, I always thought you were really cool. I always thought you really just knew who you are. And I was like, but I always thought everybody hated me and everybody thought I was really weird. So it's like that self-impression of like how you put yourself in society as well.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's like I think a lot of people also like talk about weird. I think a lot of people have this like natural instinct, and I think it's like a survival instinct that like when you experience something weird, you're like in a fight or flight mode, you know, because like for example, you walk in nature and you hear a sound that you don't recognize, you immediately get into this like survival mode, because it's like, okay, I don't know what this sound is this a danger to me?
Yeah.
If it's dangerous, I should be more like alert.
Yeah.
So I think we have this instinct also for other things, right? We see a person that doesn't seem right? Like they look strange, they have this like weird piercing, or like
are they scary?
Yeah, exactly. Not even scary, like this is a weird thing, like this is like out of the ordinary. Is this like, so our like natural like lizard brain is going like, is this a danger to me, you know?
Yeah, the lizard brain is very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people most of the time would go in the line of thinking, this is dangerous to me, like just like out of instinct. Because like you don't want to risk it.
Yeah. I think you can draw a direct line from what you just said to politics.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Of course.
Like if one wanted to, one could draw a direct line of I don't know that's dangerous. Yeah, I'm scared of that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like politicians always use fear in order to like.
Also, because we're all human and lizard brained.
Yeah,
but the more power you have, the more dangerous that gets.
Yeah.
Like being controlled by the lizard brain, making decisions for millions of people based off of your lizard brain.
Yeah,
is dangerous. Don't let the lizards win.
Yeah, don't let the lizards win.
Yeah, I think that's the conclusio.
But like maybe one thing that is like that people are weirded out by, both like from all the worlds I have, I really like sounds that are very like you can call it extreme in like extreme frequencies. Like yesterday I was in Dominberg and there was this like electronic music performance there, and there was this girl and she was basically torturing the audience. She was using like the highest and lowest frequencies and like very intense harsh sounds, and like so many people were like this, you know, like just like shutting their ears. It was like really hard for them. Like a lot of people walked out. And I was like, yeah, girl.
You were there getting off on it. You're like, oh, that's good. Tickled my little brain.
It's like musical BDSM, you know?
Oh my God. I think I'm the opposite. Because like I'm super noise sensitive. And like whenever there's like a really high pitched sound, I feel like I have like, even if it's just like a little and everybody else is like, oh yeah, it's just an annoying high pitched sound. I'm like, oh, it's a knife in my brain. Oh, no. Like, I'm super, like, I think I would have like probably like just curled up on the floor and be like, no, make it stop. Yeah, that's not for me, I think. I do like weird sounds. Like kind of like alternative music in a sense where some people wouldn't call it music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were at a music festival just a few weeks ago and it was all like an indie folk, but some of it was very indie. Like some of it went a bit more towards electronic as well, and using very crazy sounds. And it was like a quartet of just using like really weird instruments, and they were making very strange sounds. And a lot of people left, and I was just like, this is amazing. You guys are so weird, and I fucking love it. Having the best time of your life.
Was it like DIY instruments that they have built themselves? Or?
No, it was like, I think some of it was real instruments, just quite rare instruments that a lot of people didn't know.
Like all kind of percussions and stuff?
Yeah. And then there was one like string instrument, which I don't even know what to call it. Like I'd never seen it before. And one person was literally just like, they were singing, but they were just making really odd sounds. But yeah, the combination really worked.
Cool.
It was really cool.
Nice. So let's make the toast for the first question.
All right.
So,
let's see if I live.
To weird sounds.
To weird sounds. Oh, that's nice. That's much nicer than I thought it would be at 10 a.m. Ooh. It's still whiskey. Oh, but nice.
Yeah, take small sips. With 9 more of those.
Yeah. This is like my warming up. I'm going to a drag performance tonight, and I have to say something on stage as well, which I haven't spoken on stage in front of a lot of people since I was like a teenager.
Wow. Okay.
So I think this is good, so I won't be nervous. Once I'm there, I'm just drunk.
Nice.
Awesome.
Cool. So I'm glad to be of assistance.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask you the first question I ask all of my guests.
Okay.
How are you doing these days?
Oh God. Mixed feelings. I think.
Yeah.
Very mixed feelings.
Elaborate.
So I think out of like situational awareness, stressed. Obviously, we just recently had elections in Austria. That's been stressful. And like work-wise, very intense. I'm doing a lot of work at the moment, but also for good things. So like mixed feelings in a sense, like I could like just use a week in the forest by myself, not talking to anybody, just sleeping. But I'm also very excited because like I'm doing a lot of really interesting work, even though it's exhausting. And then also I've got an operation coming up in 4 weeks. I've got my top surgery coming up.
Wow.
And I'm working to get money for the surgery.
Yeah.
So I'm like super stressed in my head because I'm like, I need to do this and this and this and this and this. And I'm trying to get all the money together and finish off all of these projects that like freelance projects that I'll get money in for that. So I'm like close to like just dropping off exhaustion, but I'm also like so soon. Like I'm so excited.
Yeah, this sounds very stressful.
Yeah, but
wow,
like,
so it's really soon. So
really
you
soon.
already have the appointment.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
the 6th of November, so it's
Okay.
like 4 weeks from now, I think.
Okay. I mean, if you want, maybe you want to like tell us about this? Like, what is it about?
So
because I have to say, first, like, I'm like, this also relates to my next question, to my second question. But like, I am completely ignorant about everything like LGBTQ plus blah
totally
blah blah stuff. So I have no idea. Like, I have a lot of friends in the how do you call it, a community?
A lot of queer friends.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I have no idea about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So explain to me, like, I'm an FPÖ voter.
Oh God. No, I think if you were an FPÖ voter, I'd be scared right now. I'll just be like slowly backing away. Please don't murder me. No. So very simply put, the surgery I'm having is called top surgery, or also it's a mastectomy. So I'm having basically my chest reshaped from like what's considered a feminine chest to more what's considered a masculine chest. It is like, it is quite intense surgery. There's a lot of healing process involved with it. It also costs a lot of money to have it done. So for people saying, it's a trend and everybody's doing it, I'm like, it's quite a lot to go through for a trend. But basically why I'm doing it and where it comes from is that, so I do consider myself trans or non-binary, in the sense that that conclusion of me, I think I'm non-binary, has taken me years and years and years and years to get to that point. I can only speak from my experience. Like, for my other friends who are trans or queer, everybody's had very different experiences, but we kind of meet under the same, like, okay, we have shared experiences, shared like, oh, you feel like that, I feel like that. That's crazy. Like, nobody else seems to feel like that. Why is it our lizard brains that are wired like this? So like for me, I figured out that I was like queer in the sense like of who I'm sexually attracted to when I was like 12. Like, when I hit puberty, I was like, you're hot, you're hot, you're hot. You might have boobs, you might not have boobs. You're all hot. So
You're all hot.
So I was just like immediately like, okay, I'm something gay, because like clearly, like, I'm attracted to women, I'm attracted to men. That's all. That was so obvious to me in my brain, and it was never a question. It was never like a tortured, I have to figure out like if I'm gay or not. No, I was just like, I'm gay, whatever. I'm queer. But as we said earlier, with the feeling weird, I always felt weird my entire life. I didn't really feel like I fit in. I went through like visually, like how I dressed and how I presented myself. I went through a lot of different phases, as we all do as teenagers, trying to figure out where to land. And I could never land on anything. And that varied very strongly between dressing quite feminine, like going to work with a little person in heels, to like people 100% addressing me as sir. And I've kind of, as I've grown up and now I'm turning 30, I've landed in a bit for me where I'm like, I kind of just feel like I exist somewhere in between those spaces. And I don't really feel like I should have to be exactly either one. I'm just me. I'm somewhere, I used to say like wibbly wobbly, like in between me. But a really sore point for me in the way I wanted to like feel confident and go out into the world and feel good about myself has always been like, oh, I'm dressed like this, I feel really good, and I look in the mirror and I'm like, ooh. Like, I don't like the look of my chest. I don't like other people looking at my chest being like, titties. Like, it makes me feel really uncomfortable, and it always made me feel really uncomfortable. And for me, it's just been a point where I'm like, I'm turning 30 now. For the longest time, I thought, oh, you'll just get over it, or like you just need to dress different, or you just need to work on your confidence. And I've done all of that for years and years and years. And I've gone to the point where I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, it's my life, it's my body, and I get to take charge of it. And I'm an adult, and I get to decide how I feel comfortable. So I've decided to do that. And to be like, I don't want to feel the next 30, 40 years of my life just waiting for the point where I don't feel uncomfortable anymore. You know what I mean? So I've just decided to take it into my own hands and be like, I'm going to make myself comfortable. And like make myself look like the way I feel inside and the way I want to be seen by the world, and not and take away this little awkward thing that always made me feel strange within like connecting to other people. Because I think you only really can connect to other people really well when you feel comfortable with who you are and where you're sitting. You don't have to sit there thinking about what is this person looking at, what, like how do they think, what do they think of me, and so like I think it's a lot of confidence stuff.
So to go back to the question, it sounds like actually you're doing better than you described initially, because you have some kind of like a state of a more solidified identity than you used to have in the past few years.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's like, that's why I said mixed feelings. It's kind of like, it's a very intense point in my life. There's so much going on. Of course, it like at times it feels really overwhelming and stressful, but more because of like all the things I've put on myself to do in a certain time frame. Like I could have been like, I'll take 2 years, but we're getting married next year. And it was my decision to be like, I'd really like to have this kind of sorted, that's the wrong word, but before the wedding. Because I want to feel like I can kind of go into my next phase of life and marry my partner, like feeling like just awesome. Just be like, on my wedding day, I'm just like, I look fucking hot. Like, yes.
Amazing.
As anybody wants to feel when they're getting married.
Of course. Like people towards their wedding, like they shed a lot of kilograms, like right to fit in those like dresses and the suits. So of
people
course,
get
like
boob jobs just before their wedding because they want to feel sexier or something like that.
That's true. You're also getting a boob job, just like a
just
different type of boob job. I mean, the interesting thing is like now that you explained it, like also like I'm completely for this idea that as an adult you have control over your body and you can do whatever you want with that as long as you're not hurting anyone else. That shouldn't be a problem. It's just that like from the outside, from someone who doesn't like know you or understands your experience, it seems like a very frivolous thing. I want to chop my boobs off, you know, like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I've got some money to spend, let's do that.
Exactly.
Which I don't. I'm like scraping together the money. Barely.
But like from the little I know that like these types of operations, at least for some people, they can even be considered like life-saving operations, because like the mental risk of like not having it might be
I mean people are suicidal. Like I mean, I was suicidal when I was a teenager, not necessarily because of that reason, because there was like a lot of different things coming together in my life, but like I, with like the queer community in Graz specifically, like if you go to certain events, like in the community centers, you also meet a lot of like queer teenagers, trans teenagers, and a lot of them are really depressed. Like I've talked to this kid who like, he like saw me, he wanted to talk to me, I didn't know him, and he felt like, I need to share with you. And he told me all of these things about his school and the way his school treats him, the way his teachers treat him. And that I was just horrified, because I was like, I can't do anything for you. I need to like help you, but I don't know how. I
mean, you already did a lot by listening. Like, also it's really nice that like he felt that that like you're the type of person who would be willing to listen.
Yeah, I have to say that it felt almost like yes, I'm like super glad that he felt like he was safe with me to talk to me. That's like a big thing. I think it was the space as well, because we was also all kind of queer trans people, but like it almost felt for him like an emergency he had to like share. Like it was like, I need help, but I was just like, I don't know how to help you. Like, I don't know what to do. I can't change your school for you. I'm not your parent, but like you want to do all these things and you can't. And I think as a society, looking away from that kind of pain and like letting kids like potentially kill themselves, like that's crazy as well. Because you said I want to hook into that. You said the word's frivolous. So that's like, that really relates to like, so the way that is seen from the outside with the like frivolous thing, that is quite often an emotion like me and like I know other trans people have had on the inside, where it's like you push it away because you feel like I'm asking for too much. Like there's like guilt attached to it in the sense like, oh, I shouldn't, I don't want to make a big fuss. That was always me. Like I was always like, I don't I don't want to stand out. I don't want to make a big fuss. I don't want to like do all of that because it's going to be like so stressful in my life and have to talk to my family about it. And I think when you've done that for many years, there's like the point where you're like, I can't push it away anymore. I can't like keep ignoring it because like even
like you get the opposite effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you know, when you've had an argument with a friend and you like silence it and then the two of you never talk about it, you might just lose that friendship because you've never talked about it, because there's a silent thing hanging over you the entire time. It's almost like that, but with your own life. Like it's like this shadow sitting above your head being like, I'm still here. And like I've had this experience where I think I've had a very stressful upbringing, very stressful teenage years. With a lot of family things. And
where did you grow up, by the way?
I grew up in Austria.
But which area?
Oh, so my family moved around a lot. We grew up, the first few years we lived in like Straden, Bad Radkersburg, which is like...
Where is that?
Really southeast, like towards the Slovenian border. Like the lowest bit.
Wow, in the countryside?
Really, really rural, rural countryside. And then we moved when I was 8 or something like that, and we lived just like a few kilometers away for like 2 years, and then somewhere else for like 4 years, and then I moved to Graz when I was like 13, 14, like by myself.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I moved out from home when I was like 13 or something like that.
That's quite unusual.
Yeah. So there was a lot of things going on, which is why I think the whole idea of like, am I trans, am I not trans, you know, I never even had time to think about that. That was just pushed so far down on the priority list, it didn't matter. And then as I grew up and I kind of, you know, like you fight your way through life, I felt like, you know, I've made improvements, and I was like, oh, I'm at a point in my life when like I like look at my flat, I look at my beautiful partner, I'm like, I have every reason to be extremely happy, and I am extremely happy. So why is there this thing that I'm still like really stressed about and that's not going away? And you're like, who are you? Why are you still here? Why are you annoying me? So it just wasn't going away by itself, even though I really wanted it to go away by itself. So I decided to make it go away.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's have a toast.
Yeah.
To boob jobs.
To boob jobs. Oh, okay, small sips. Ooh, right, so it's my turn. Let me see. Which one do I choose? Okay, I have a would you rather. So would you rather live for 2,000 years and be alone, or only live for 5 more years, but it would be the most interesting years of your life, like with loads of people, but also like anything could happen?
Definitely the second one.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is like very personal, of course, like everyone would answer it completely differently, but like I think this concept of like being alone in the world, this is a lie.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people really feel alone in the world, especially today, where like our traditional means of communication have completely collapsed. Right? People used to be just like to meet each other in the street, right? Like you ask most of our grandparents, like they met each other on like a park bench or something, right? Like this doesn't happen today. People have lost the ability to like communicate normally.
Yeah.
Right? Like most of like young married couples today, like where did you meet on Tinder? You know, it's like it's really
You and
like
I literally met on Tinder.
Yeah, I know. It's like
but it was during lockdown, I have to say. I was not allowed to talk to people. Wasn't allowed to meet anybody.
Yeah, but like you see what I mean,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So like I think a lot of people like believe that it is possible to be alone in the world today. So a lot of people might actually answer the first question because
Mm-hmm.
oh, I get infinite YouTube time.
Yeah,
Amazing. You know, but like that's terrible. Like that's
horrible.
like the things it does to your brain. But like also like being alone in general, like you go crazy.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have anyone to talk to, you invent
Yeah.
people or things to talk to, and that's like really unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about it with one of my other guests here, like about like the way people romanticize the crazy artist, right? And I think we should really stop doing it.
Yeah, that needs to stop.
Because like, yeah, there might be crazy artists that like did amazing works of art, but these people were suffering, and we shouldn't be like this
Glamorizing it.
Yeah, we shouldn't be like a death cult, basically. Like, let's leave it for the fascists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I would definitely prefer like a more exciting, like being surrounded by people for 5 years, like doing a crazy and intense stuff. Like I have to say also, like now it's like very intense times specifically for me, because like now in Israel, like we're fighting a 5-front war currently. And like everything is happening so fast, and like everything is changing so much. And they're like the news cycle is insane. And like the media is so bad, like it's just controlled by a bunch of like billionaires, right? So it's like just serves the oligarchy, like not only in Israel, also here, right?
Oh god,
So so it's also hard to even use the media to get a grip on what's actually going on, right? Like there's reality, and there's like social media, there's traditional media, and like nothing, like none of them can give you the full picture. They're like the people you meet, and like luckily for me, because I work in an office job, and we have a lot of people in reserve duty in the army. I can actually ask them about the war, and I can get like a first-hand like what do you call it, account of like what's actually happening, and not only what's being told in the media.
So you have like, sorry to interrupt, you have like colleagues that had to go fight in the war and then come back and work in the office. And kind of back and forth.
Yes. That's how it works, because like our so in Israel we have like a obligatory military service for like 3 years. And after that you have like reserve duty if you did like a specific role that is required. And now all roles are required, because we're in like a full-on war, and we need people in intelligence, we need the foot soldiers, we need people to operate the missiles and the missile defense and the airplanes, like everything. So everyone who's on reserve duty are basically going back and forth. And there were some people, like there are even some people who have been for a full year now on reserve duty since the beginning of the war. Like imagine like people are like the government just tells you, okay, you stop your life. It doesn't matter. Like you're going to get married in like a month. Like it doesn't matter. Like you're in the army now for the foreseeable future. And that's just insane. But like but it allows me at least that to get a better grip on what's going on. And I have I have friends from like different like units of the army, so this is nice, so I can at least get a bigger picture of what's going on. And I have to say, these times of like a lot of things going on, like also in Israel and around the world, like for me, like I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like it makes me more creative in a way, because like there's a lot of input, there's like a lot of things that can stir up my brain and make me think about stuff and come up with ideas. And also because things are changing so quickly, it makes a lot of things click in place, because like you don't need to wait 10 years for this process to be completed, because it's like you had something that accelerates it, and usually war accelerates things.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
There's it reminds me, I don't remember where it was from, but there's this like statement. It's like what you wish to somebody, but you actually wish them harm. You say, may you live in interesting times. Because it means in interesting times, always a lot of shit happens. So like, it's not necessarily a good thing to wish somebody, may you live in interesting times. I forgot where it was from. I think it's maybe from like an old text or something. Like, but...
It's funny, like to paraphrase that, like my professor during my bachelor's, my composition professor said the worst thing you can say to a composer is that his piece was interesting. Because that's why you say about a piece of art that you don't have anything to say about. Oh, it was interesting.
Yeah. That's true. That's the other side of it. Yeah, because like we use interesting, like language wise, also to be like, I don't know what to say about this. It's just
exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's like a meaningless umbrella term for everything. We don't have anything interesting to say about it.
But if you think about it in the way of like, may you live in interesting times, I think if you say interesting times, those are like,
this is like
that's a lot.
Like interesting times is something different. Like no, because in this sense, like when you say interesting, you actually meant boring.
Exactly.
Because if it was actually interesting, you would find something to say about it.
You'd be able to go into detail. I mean, I think sometimes I've definitely had conversations with people where they said something is very interesting in a way of like, they don't know what to say about it. If they like either haven't confronted themselves enough with it, of like, oh, like in the sense of like, that's really weird. I don't know what that is. So like, there would be a lot to say about it if they took the time to like, go and take a closer look and be like, why is it just weird and interesting? Like, it's a way to distance yourself from things as well.
True, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Because I think like even like to my life or our life, people have like sometimes used that sense of like, oh, that's a very interesting choice. And I'm like, you mean it's weird.
Yeah. Yes,
but
and they don't want to insult. So
exactly, they want to insult you, so they distance themselves from making a statement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not interesting to me. It's interesting in general.
Yeah.
It's something someone can write an article about.
Yeah. In a medical journal.
Yeah. Cool. So, may we live in interesting times?
We already do. Cheers. I'm taking very small sips. Right. Okay, that was my question. Very good. So it's your turn. I keep playing with this like cable. Is this a problem? Not so good for the audio, is it?
It might.
I'll try and keep my hands away.
Yeah.
Just like force of habit, like empty hands.
It's fine. So maybe to go back to what we were talking about before. So we were talking. You were mentioning a lot of terms. You were saying trans. You were saying non-binary.
Yeah.
So I would try to let's make it into a game.
Okay.
Again, explain to me like I'm an FPÖ voter. Like no, but like because I think like you were talking about like weird earlier, right? But like people are weirded out, and like I was. This is also a topic that has come up in this show, that people really use like my friend Dakota. He said that a lot of artists like live this wonky. He's used the word wonky lifestyle. You know.
Yeah.
And I think, like, of course, it takes two to tango, but I think a lot of people from outside of like the arts community or like world, they would use it in a way to keep themselves at a distance from it.
Yeah,
and I think this is very bad for everyone because a I believe that creativity is important and it shouldn't be reserved for the artists.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's make it into like a game, like trying to like explain to people who are completely from outside
very
of
simple
these
terms.
of
No
these
problem.
cycles, like what do these terms mean? Like, let's try to not make it too academic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, what do they mean personally to you?
Yeah. So let's start with the word trans, because I think that's
Yes.
a very, like, also in the media, a very strong kind of buzzword at the moment, which I hate. But yeah. So to put it in very simple terms, trans defines anybody, or as an umbrella term, can define anybody who doesn't feel like the gender they were told they are at birth. So they say when you're born, vagina, girl, penis, boy.
Yes.
And if as a person you're born with a vagina, but you're like, I don't think I'm a girl, anything past that, trans. So trans just means technically it just means opposite. It just means different from like what you were told you are. So that's why I use trans, because I've never really felt, even though I was born with a vagina and boobs, I never really felt like a woman. Like if somebody told me you're a woman, I'd be like, am I? Like, what does that mean? Why? And I feel like that's a strange experience. A lot of people who weird.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't ever think about that. They don't have to think about it because that's just, normal. That's just life. That's just who I am. And I think when you feel different, you're forced to think about it. You're like, it's almost like the elephant in the room and you can't not think about it because, but why? So trans just means you'd feel different from what you were assigned at birth. That's very, very simply said. Does that help? Or is that still too...
I mean, it's interesting to think about it because like you're saying assigned.
Yeah.
It sounds like almost mechanistic in a way. So, like, I don't think parents, when they have a child, I don't think they like assign anything, right?
Absolutely
like
not the parents.
They work out of instinct.
Yeah. So when we speak about that, there's that is quite, I think why it is hard to understand is because they are very intricate concepts and they can be seen as philosophical concepts.
Yes.
But again, to try and break it down very simply, when we speak of trans, people always say you can't change your chromosomes. Of course you can't.
Yeah.
Like you can't change your genetic DNA.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. What we mean by that is, or by assigned as in a societal way.
Yes.
So like, because I have a vagina that is physical, I am told I am a woman that is social.
Yes.
So in a social concept within other people, I am treated as a woman. I am treated as, all the things we assign to women in our society, for example. And men are treated with all the ways that are assigned to men. You have to be this, you can't be that.
True.
So that is a societal thing, which we then call gender. So you have sex, which is like a physical thing.
Yeah.
And you have gender, which is a social thing.
Yeah.
Like we as people at some point decided that women are emotional and men are stoic and quiet. All those things. They're personal traits, but somehow we made it a general thing.
Yeah.
So that's a societal thing, which then means gender roles or gender norms. We say men are like this, women are like that. So usually when we speak of trans, what we mean by that is that I have a vagina or whatever, but societally that doesn't match. Like you treat me as a woman, but I don't see myself as a woman in a societal standard. And that's again very different for different people. Yeah. Because there is a physical aspect to it. Like I don't feel comfortable in my body the way it is. That is also a trans experience. Yeah, there's lots of different aspects to it, and I think it's very difficult to put it down into one thing.
I was just thinking, comparing it to another topic that is also very, I feel like contested. It's like I hate this word race. Because it's also like fake.
Yeah.
It's also like now maybe to use the academic term, because you were talking about like the gender that is unrelated to the genetic situation.
Yeah.
So it's like a gender is like what you call a social construct.
Exactly.
And what we call like race is exactly the same thing, because like you and I might have a different levels of melanin in our skin.
Yeah.
But genetically, the difference between us is like, like there are no human races. It's not like dogs.
No.
We have eradicated all other human races.
Exactly. Like we're all Homo sapiens.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Homo erectus did not live.
Yes. So in this sense, it's very similar, but I feel that like socially, this has been treated completely differently.
Yeah. But I totally agree with you in the sense that there is no like there is no different races. And when it comes to gender, we've had this discussion, my partner and I, where we always say like, I feel like if there was no societal difference, maybe, I mean, we can't know, this is completely theoretical. Maybe I wouldn't have to identify as trans or non-binary, because if there's no societal standard, then why do I need to define myself?
Exactly.
There's like, in the same way, like if humans wouldn't like separate people by race or by melanin, there like would not be any need theoretically for like say black power, because
exactly
like if you don't suppress certain parts of your society, they don't have to like say, no, I'm here, I exist.
Yes.
And I think that's the part of it where like people get angry that like, oh, so many people like are like saying they're trans now and It's people standing up and like, I'm here. Stop ignoring me, or stop punching me. Basically, like I'm not your punching bag.
I mean, in a way, it's just like a symptom of like our like politics, like you said earlier, because it's like it's motivated by fear. So it feels like in a way both sides are being reactionary to each other. Like the very conservative are like, no, we have to have these like very strict definitions of what is a man and what is a woman,
and what is a family.
And there's nothing else. There's no wiggle room. And the other side is like saying, no, like everything is possible. And it's like in a way they're dancing this weird dance of like, how much can we stretch it to both sides?
I think that is a very human experience. And I think it's like we have to sometimes, like, how do I say this, it's very hard in times like this where like there's so many different sides, which is very normal. I think it's like throughout history has always kind of happened. But
the voices have never been so amplified like today.
And I think the media plays a big role in that. And I think there is the point where we as like individuals maybe, and like Lewis says, like kill with kindness. Like I like, as much as I disagree with somebody, I wouldn't physically fight them. Like I would try and have a civil argument with them and kind of present my case. But obviously that also has to go both ways. Like,
of course. And actually, from my experience, most people are actually willing to listen. People who are not 24/7 on the internet or on media, like these people are lost causes, I think. Because their brains have been washed by, but like
mush.
But like most people who like live in reality, even if they have like the complete, like I think most FPÖ voters you'll be able to have like a civil conversation with, probably.
I don't have a lot of FPÖ voters in my like inner circle, so I don't know a lot, but yeah, probably. I like I'm always amazed by like humans in that way, because for example, my kind of stepdad, so like my mom's boyfriend, he's 73, he's a retired farmer, he's very like countryside kind of, and you can consider him very conservative in a lot of ways. And you know, he's definitely, you know, like on Christmas he's the person who will throw out a random like definitely racist joke, but meaning it in an innocent way. He just thinks it's funny, and everybody else like, oh, it's not funny. Please, no, don't do that. But at the same time, he knows my partner and I, and he loves us. And he has never said a homophobic thing to us in his life.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I've never talked to him about his politics, he might vote FPÖ, but he knows us and he loves us. And he's not got a single problem with the fact that I'm marrying somebody he considers a woman.
Yeah.
So, like, that's, has never been a problem. And I think as humans and, like, our little ways day to day, that's kind of, that shows a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Like, that we can still connect with each other, even if somebody like him who maybe has a lot of preconceptions or fears about things he doesn't know, once he knows you, he's a very kind person and he will love you. And I think, for example, he just doesn't know a lot of people who are not white and from the countryside. So, like, he has preconceptions.
Yeah,
and
like we all do.
Yeah, and it's hard to get those out of him by just telling him to stop saying those things and telling him you can't think that way. I think somebody like him, for example, he has to make friends and meet people to then think about, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that because my friend wouldn't like me saying that, or like that would be offensive to this person I really love. So I think there's often that personal, and as you say in the media, that impersonal. Yeah. He reads things in the newspapers and in Kronenzeitung, and they make him afraid. Yeah. So like it's distant. It's not personal. Yeah.
Yeah. So just like get off the internet.
Yeah. Get off the internet.
Stop this video
right now.
Go do something with your life that is outside the internet.
Talk to people and talk to people who are not this like who don't look and act like you do.
Yes. So to human interactions.
To human interactions. If I start slurring my speech, you have to tell me. Oh, my legs. All right, I think is it my turn? Mm-hmm. Okay. You have very deep questions. My questions are not quite as deep, but they are leading to deep conversations, so that's good. Mm-hmm. What's my next question? Okay, this is quite a deep question. Mm-hmm. So, you're an artist as well. You write.
Apparently, yes.
Yeah. I would consider you as a person, like a creative, artistic person as well. And I was going to ask if there is a person in your life that you feel like really inspires you to do art. Like, conversations with that person, or like, is it like the memory of a person, like somebody who really inspires you?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I try personally to get like inspiration from like every interaction I have. Because I think actually like the most mundane scenarios are the most inspiring ones. You just need to be like open and receptive.
Yeah.
But like maybe to be more specific, I think it really depends on the time where I am with my life. But I have let's say I have two people in my life that I have like a long personal connection with for like a long time since my bachelor, so it's like almost 10 years now. One of them is a friend called Kobi, and we have a podcast in Hebrew. It's called The Best Podcast in the Middle East, and it is the best podcast in the Middle East.
Oh, if only I spoke Hebrew, I would so listen to
it. You can listen to all the beginnings of the episodes because there we don't cut the singing in the beginning.
Excellent. I'm glad you cut my singing.
So we have these like long and deep conversations about like aesthetics and art and music, and he's like a very different person from me. Like he's an ultra orthodox Jew, so he has like a very different lifestyle.
What does
than me.
Ultra orthodox mean? Can you define that for me?
Yeah, so there are like different sects, I guess you can say in Judaism.
Yeah.
So you have like what's the word? You have like secular Jews who are
Yeah.
just like Jews because Hitler said they're Jews. Like historically, it didn't exist, like secular Jews.
Yeah.
I think it's like a phenomenon of the late 19th, early 20th century that you started to have this like nationality all around Europe. And you had non-practicing Jews still considered Jews.
Like almost like ethnically Jew.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I guess Judaism is also a type of an ethnicity because it's not a religion that it's like easy to get into.
Yeah.
So it's in a way it's also like an ethnicity, but not like an ethnicity in the sense that like all of them come from the same place.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, like after World War II, there were like a lot of non-religious Jewish people, and all the religious ones are divided into different like groups. So you have the ultra Orthodox, which is basically the old school Judaism.
Yeah.
That's like the guys with like the big suits and the big hats and like these.
Oh yeah. No,
curly
and
yeah.
yeah.
Like the like the classic Jews.
Yeah. No, I've definitely like heard and seen about Orthodox Judaism.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was a definition between Orthodox and like ultra Orthodox.
Yeah,
Like
so yeah, so like
is that
today,
a technical term or is that
no,
more
I mean
like
historically it's just like historically, like I said, it's just Jews.
Yeah.
Then it became Orthodox, and like today it's ultra Orthodox because you have the another major religious movement, mainly in Israel, and that's the national religious Jews.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically the engine behind like Israel's modern politics of like conquering all these pieces of land that like historically were part of like the land of Israel.
And they're more Orthodox than the other Orthodox Jews, or less.
No, they're less Orthodox.
That way.
Yeah. Like the ultra Orthodox like see them as not like serious Jews because like they're more about the national aspect than the religious aspect. In a way, they're like they have a different, because in the end, like all Jews want the Messiah to come. That's like the goal.
Yeah.
And the ultra Orthodox believe that in order to do that, you need to not sin and do all the right things that are written in
do the good stuff
in the Bible.
Yeah.
And do all the prayers and like and study and know the Torah really well. Like that's what you need to do. And the national religious, or like the Orthodox, the religious national Orthodox, you can call them.
Yeah.
They believe that like that stuff is important, but like physically controlling the land is what will bring the Messiah.
Yeah.
So it's like different approaches to achieve the same thing, basically, but
angles.
Yeah, but like definitely I'm more friendly with the ultra Orthodox than the national Orthodox. So that's my friend Kobe, and like he really inspires me, like not in the religious sense, of course, but like like to see things differently and to think of things in a different manner.
You have interesting conversations.
Yeah, definitely all the time. Yeah, and he also likes really weird niche stuff on the internet, like me. Like like I probably shouldn't say like what we speak about in private conversation, but like me, he watches a lot of weird stuff on the internet. And we talk about this.
Awesome.
And I have another friend called Chen, and she's now in Arizona. She's originally from Israel, like me. She's an opera singer.
Cool.
But she's also like this type of like entrepreneur.
Amazing.
Yeah, she has like a lot of like really cool ideas for like businesses and like business models and like and different types of platforms for like artists and creators, and like and she's like one of the most creative persons I know, and like for me, like it's almost like drugs, like conversations with the two of them, because it's like I have to
Gets
get
you high.
I need to get my fix because it like helps me like get my neurons running in my own brain, you know.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I think the people around us are the ones who like inspire us the most.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm totally on your side. Like, I need to get my fix of like conversations with certain people, because I'm just like, I always walk away like more inspired and happier whenever I've talked to you. So yeah,
amazing.
It's really good.
Yeah. And I mean, also, like, I think our families should always be like a source of inspiration and wisdom. Like for me, it's easy because both of my parents are creative people. My dad was like a painter and a musician. My mom, she a poet and an actress. So like, so it was like very easy for me to get all these inspirations at home. But I think even like my brother, that he's completely like not part of, like, he studies economics now, right? He's completely not in the creative sphere, but he also inspires me, right? Like with the decisions he makes, and like the way he approaches life, and the way he interprets things in a way that I would never have, you know, like I said in the beginning, it's like all about like being receptive, right?
Yeah. I think same. Like my mom and my brother. So I don't really have a dad, but like my mom and my brother like do inspire me, but they're both like not like outwardly in like a creative, like, you know, industry or anything like that, but in very different ways. So like my mom, like, I have to say she inspires me in like determination, because she like you know, she raised my brother and I in like private bankruptcy on a minimum wage. And she always had a smile on her face. And she worked 50, 60-hour weeks, getting up at 4 a.m. to work in a factory. And somehow now that she's retired, she's like, I want to learn English. And she's just like, I'm going cycling. Like, she's now like, you know, she's in her 60s. She's living her best life.
She's having like the most healthy midlife crisis.
Yeah, she's having a healthy retirement. And I'm so like, you know, cool. I'm like in awe of her, because like I'm like, you've not had a very, you know, easy time. She comes from a very poor kind of farmer's background. Like my grandma was very post Second World War. Like they both, my mom and her sisters, like, for example, all of them have like fake teeth because they didn't have a lot of nutrition when they grew up. When they were little, they didn't have a lot of food. All they had was like bread and like the meat they had themselves on the farm, but like no vegetables. Like, so like they're really like,
they didn't have any vitamins.
Exactly. So all of them have quite bad teeth and stuff like that. So they're very hardy people, my family, and all the women in my family are very hardy. They're like, they're very kick-ass, but in a kind of like tough farmer woman kind of way. And like, I like admire them. They're like, they were kind of my biggest role models growing up, because they're like, I won't be told what to do. I'll kick ass.
Nice.
And whatever life throws you, they're kind of like, get through it, just do it. You got it. Don't give up.
Nice.
Yeah. And my brother, we have a lot of differences. So like, we're quite different people in a lot of ways.
Is he younger or older?
He's older. He's 2 years older than me. We've had very different paths in life. But I have to say, I also find a lot about him quite inspiring. He's always been a person where, like, if he wants to do something, even though he has no qualifications or like no, you know, no clear path, he will just go and do it without necessarily, you know, being like, oh, I need to go and study for this long to do it. He's just like, no, I'm going to do it now. Like years and years ago, he wanted to become a chef. He started growing a lot of vegetables in his garden, and because he trained in IT, and he's just like, I can't do this anymore. I want to do something different. So he decided he wanted to become a cook. So one day he just baked a cake, went to a restaurant and said, hire me.
Wow.
And he just gave them the cake and they liked it. So they hired him.
Nice.
And then he went and did like formal chef's training, like after he worked there for a while, just like kind of kitchen staff.
Wow.
And then he did formal training, so now he's a chef. And I find it inspiring in a different way.
Yeah.
Like kind of just like, I want to do this. Nothing's stopping me from just doing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Like Shia LaBeouf said, just do it.
Just do it.
Do it.
Just do it.
Do it.
Stop thinking about it. Just do it. Yeah.
So, to doing it.
To just doing it. There you go.
My turn to ask.
Yeah.
So, tell us something we don't know about you.
Oof. I think a lot of people don't know a lot of things about me. Like, oh God, I have too many options. It's difficult, like in a creative way, in like a life kind of way. I think something a lot of people don't know about me is that the first home I grew up in was a refugee camp.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us more about that.
I think that's something like I hardly ever talk about to people because it was like a long time ago when I was very little. And it doesn't seem that important to my current life anymore. But so when I was really little, my parents, or actually before I was born, my parents bought a big house on a big land to turn into a restaurant. They had a restaurant for a long time. It went well for a couple of years and then it didn't go so well because it was in the countryside. There's not a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
So like they went bankrupt. My dad was also horrible with money. So he just kept on taking more loans and loans and loans.
Oh,
and my
no.
mum co-signed everything, kind of not knowing what she was doing.
Yeah.
So he got our family into a huge amount of debt.
Wow.
So they closed the restaurant, and because we had this big house, this big land, they were trying to think about what to do with it. And at that time, I think, as far as I'm aware, I've tried to talk to my mom about this at some point, but it was kind of a bit like, oh, it's a long time ago, I don't know so much about it. Your dad handled a lot of it. So it's kind of hard to get detailed information about it. But so I think at the time people were getting funding for taking in refugees. So like state provided funding. Because my biggest question was always, so my dad is FPÖ. My dad is super right-wing conservative. How did he decide to open a refugee camp and take in like political refugees or like refugees? I think it was money thing. I keep trying to figure
It's
in
like
my
a
head,
money laundering scheme.
Yeah, in my head, it's like a very like, how do these two things make sense? How does the person who I know to be my dad make sense with like my growing up? And he accidentally bred a left-wing child. Not really meaning to, but he did. So we had...
You think that that growing up in a refugee camp like shaped your...
It definitely did shape a lot of my growing up in the way that so where it was like really rural countryside, like kind of Bad Radkersburg area, like in the south of Styria. And people didn't know anybody who wasn't from there.
Yeah.
Like people, right? Like kind of, in their little bubble. And my family took in refugees mainly from Iran. I think it was like right after the Iran war. I'm not 100% sure historically.
Like the Iran-Iraq war, you mean?
I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look it up. I just know that at the time there was a lot of refugees coming in from Iran. And we had this big old house, and the ground floor was turned into like a space for the refugees. So there was like a few rooms where like beds were put up, and then my mom cooked for all of the refugees. And I grew up with them and their kids and the families. And there was, for example, there's a picture up there. So the woman at the top is my mom. And the woman on the left is Sore, one of our refugees. The little girl in the middle is me. And the man next to me is Sore's husband. So my dad's not actually in that picture.
Okay.
And the boy next to him is my brother. So Sore and her husband were like my second parents. And I used to every morning climb out of bed, go downstairs and climb into bed with them and lie in between them. Instead of climbing into my mom's bed, I would go and hang out with them. And Sore was the first person who taught me how to draw.
Wow.
Like, I really wanted to learn how to draw. And she just did these little doodles, you know, these little like, oh, this is a lion. This is, and I like loved it. And my mom didn't have any time because she was working all the time, very hard working. And like they were refugees, they weren't allowed to work at the time, and they loved kids. And they like, so Sore spent hours with me. Like she would draw something and then put a line and I had to repeat it. And I like kind of copy her drawing and trying to learn, like, you know, kind of mimicking the lines and stuff. And it was the first, like my first start in learning how to draw.
Yeah, just train your muscles to be able to actually
I was like 5, so it was just like, you know, trying to copy the doodle.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, this is how you draw a fork kind of thing. And I remember quite clearly when we eventually had to sell that house and we moved. We moved into another like kind of small countryside town. And I remember being absolutely shocked because for me, I was like a little kid. I didn't really know anything about politics or anything like that in that way. And then but I'd already known that people are hateful. Like I learned that quite early because people, even like back in like primary school, kids would bully us because their parents would say things like, that family brings in like the foreigners. So the kids would hear it and then the kids would bully us, not understanding what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I remember moving and there being these kids, maybe like 10 years old. There was this one boy coming from looking back, like I think he said his mom was like in a mental hospital and his dad was like an alcoholic. And he would stand in the school and sing like the German national anthem and raise a fucking Hitler thing. And I was shocked. I was like, this is a 10-year-old boy. What do you know of anything of this?
Yeah.
Also, where's this hate coming from? I don't understand.
I mean, I think at this age, it's not hate.
It's copy paste.
Yeah, I think it's just like, I don't know, and also like generally like all these like national gestures, like they're fun, right? Especially if you're a kid, like it's fun to pretend you're doing something that like adults like.
But
and
also
like,
you maybe shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like maybe it's something you heard at home, so maybe you should be doing it. But I don't know.
Maybe, who knows?
But like what I mean, it's like like there's something very infantile about all these like national gestures. The problem is that like when you grow up and you keep doing this, like
exactly.
I don't mind so much kids doing it, but like but I understand also you like being shocked at like what the fuck is going on. Yeah,
I think the way like growing up in the refugee camp shaped me was more that I had more awareness from a very young age that other kids didn't have at all. And so they would say things and copy things they hadn't thought about. And I would relate it back and be like, wait, no, like none of this makes any sense. And yeah, I think it's just bred awareness and like, a certain, maybe a certain openness that other kids in the countryside didn't grow up with. And I say like my dad bred it by accident because he's actually quite a close-minded person in that way, unfortunately. He doesn't even like me being gay very much. So it's very dialectic.
I mean, you said you don't have it, so I guess you're not in contact.
I haven't seen him in like 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last time I saw him is when I came out to him. I was in, it was very strange. I was in hospital. And my dad used to work in the hospital and I had an accident and somebody was like, because my mom couldn't come because she's like a bit further away. So they were like, call Manu's dad. He can come because he works in the hospital. He should go and see how I'm doing, even though he didn't have any legal guardianship, but he was there and they were like, call an adult. He's there. And I remember being like in shock and in pain meds because I had an accident. It was just like, you know, that kind of adrenaline. You say things because you're foggy. Yeah. And I remember I was about to go into head CT and my dad sitting next to me and I was kind of like super like high on like adrenaline and pain meds. And I was just to my dad like, hey, like heard my brother said something to you, because my brother accidentally outed me to my brother before that. And I was like, Mario said something to you about me liking girls. And then my dad was like, yeah, he said something. Or just bullshit. Like he doesn't believe my brother.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's true. Dad, I'm gay.
And you were high.
Yeah, I was super high. And my dad just went, ja, jeder hat sein Backel zum Tragen im Leben. Like, everybody's got their own problems in life. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it's kind of the end of the conversation.
I see.
So that was like 15 years ago or something like that.
Side question you don't have to answer. Did you invite him to the wedding?
No.
Okay.
I don't even have his phone number anymore, I think. That was like very short interaction. It was not because of that I don't see my dad. There was a lot of years,
I guess it was like building up
a
years.
lot building up. It was quite a very harmful, toxic relationship. My dad's quite aggressive in a way. Like, he was very choleric, scream in your face, like kind of person. And no, I think seeing him for the first time at my wedding as well, I think that would be horrible.
Yeah.
That'd be a bit of a nightmare. Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah.
I mean dads are cool. Like when they're doing their job.
I wish I had one.
Yeah.
Like, I've always I have this one friend, and we used to hang out a lot at his like family home, and they have such a lovely relationship with their dad. And I was always used to be a bit jealous. Like, I was like, oh my God, your dad's so sweet. Like, you're explaining to him how the iPad works. Like, and I was jealous of that. Like, I want to explain to my dad how the iPad works. It's like,
amazing.
I forgot what the original question was, I have to say.
You were supposed to tell us something we don't know about you. I think you told us about a lot of things we didn't know about you.
I definitely went into too much detail. Refugee camp, don't have a dad.
Yeah.
So. I told you just like 2 things.
Cool.
That's it.
So, 2.
Knowing too much about each other.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a silly question for you. What do you think spiders would say if they could talk?
Interesting.
Wow.
I mean, first of all, they'll be complaining all of the time that people are messing up with their webs, right?
Of course.
It's like I worked so hard to put my web on your window, and then in a single movement, you destroy it.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the first thing, right? Just to like communicate that, like, dude, I'm working hard on this, and you're like. Yeah, like, imagine that you've been working on a painting for a year.
Yeah.
And then someone just like, you know?
Yeah, it'd be horrible.
So I guess that's mainly what they'll be saying. But like, I wonder if there'll be anything interesting for them to tell us about like their spider lives, you know?
Because isn't there a phrase of like being you say fly on the wall, but you could also be a spider on the wall.
You can definitely be a spider on the wall.
Because you hear and see a lot about other people's lives.
Yes.
But then their perception's quite different, and their eyes work very different. So I'm not sure how much they actually take in.
They have a lot of eyes.
Yeah, they have a lot of eyes.
Yeah.
They see everything.
They see
everything. But you know how like in like theoretical politics?
Yeah.
Right. What? So like,
yeah, you know, spiders. So in theoretical politics,
so like bees and ants are often used as an example for like communism, because they like work together as a hive, and it's kind of like,
so like termites would also be like
and like
this.
one individual works for the common good, like so everybody can have a good life. What do you think spiders would be? Because I feel like they're more like they're definitely not communists. They're maybe a bit more
they're definitely not communists.
No, they're more like me. I want to have a good life.
I mean, it's interesting. Do spiders live in like communities? Like each web that we see, it's made by only one spider?
Yeah. As far as I know, and I'm weirdly obsessed with like nature documentaries, they definitely don't work in communities, because spiders do also eat each other. Like if there's a bigger spider and a smaller spider tries to build a nest nearby, the bigger spider will eat the smaller spider because it's like, this is my space.
So it sounds like spiders are libertarians, right?
Yeah, they're very capitalistic, I think.
Yeah, it's like each to their own.
Yeah,
and like I'll eat you if you're a threat.
Yeah, I think so.
So in Austria it would be like nails, like the spiders would, because if they get to speak, they also probably get a vote, right?
Or they're like ÖVP.
ÖVP.
Because they're kind of like capitalistic.
Interesting.
All for the Wirtschaft. Like the economy. Yeah,
but like I feel like neos are more like classic capitalism of like let's let the let's get the market as free as possible and let it like naturally grow, because we believe that that's what happens.
The market controls itself.
Yeah, exactly. We believe that that's what happens when you let the market like move on their own, but like move on its own. But like the ÖVP, they're like more like the party of the elites, right?
Yeah, they're very elitist.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about like the other day that like all the Austrian parties have nothing to do with their names.
Absolutely not.
Right? Like the Freiheitspartei, the FPÖ.
They're not very freiheitlich.
They're not about freedom.
No.
The Volkspartei are not about the Austrian
people.
folk.
No.
The Socialist Party are not socialists.
They're not really socialist.
The Communist Party are not communists.
Not in a traditional way, no. I guess the only one true to the name are maybe Grüne, because they're green.
Yeah, but that's such an easy like.
Yeah.
Like I like nature. Who doesn't like nature? Like maybe nails, but like.
ÖVP does not like nature because that's against capitalism.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Oh God.
I always thought about like all these like alliances that you could make, if people like, because like the FPÖ makes like the major thing the immigration.
Yeah.
And then it's really hard to work with them because they have like very unreasonable policies that are also impossible to implement. But that's like a different thing. But like. I can imagine like really good coalition of like the FPÖ and the Greens, because they're both about conserving stuff, you know, like let's conserve nature, you know? It can really work.
Oh my god.
Like
that coalition would be insane.
Yeah, like imagine a coalition, like the only thing we can agree upon is like we want to conserve stuff. Yeah, let's conserve stuff.
One person wants to conserve the purity of a race and the other one wants to conserve nature.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Let's just conserve everything.
It does just sound like nothing would ever happen though, because they would be constantly fighting.
That's the point.
So nothing would change because also nothing's happening at the moment.
That's what conserving is about. You know, non-change.
Genau. Genau. I've been trying to figure out like what I would be happiest with, and like honestly, absolutely none.
You mean with the coalition?
Coalition-wise, like trying to figure out like, what do I think would be the best?
Yeah.
I mean, from my point of view, like
I mean, I think the best thing would be like a Kickel-led government, actually.
Seriously?
Yeah, because like I have a couple of reasons for that.
Please argue that.
Yeah,
I want to hear those reasons. Please, quickly.
This is like, I have no idea how many people in the audience are like, what are they? Who's Kickel? What are they talking about? This is like so, right? Like for some reason, I'm not a big like political expert, but for some reason I have some knowledge of Austrian politics, because
so you think the most like right-wing conservative guy would make the best like leadership?
No, but I think this is the best government for Austria for a couple of reasons.
Yes.
First of all, this is the most democratic solution, because like clearly Nehammer lost.
Yeah.
He clearly lost. Like if he forms a government with the SPÖ, this would be the most anti-democratic thing possible, and like the result of that would be that the FPÖ would become stronger, because they'll lead the opposition.
I was thinking that. Yeah.
And like next time they'll get like
even more.
90 seats, you know, like it will be insane. So I think it's better to let them govern when they have like less influence. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that like it's not only the FPÖ, like all your politicians are extremely stupid.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like,
dumb as fuck.
They're so dumb. It's like, it's insane. Like I have no idea why people like are voting for them, but like...
Who knows?
Yeah.
The people don't know.
Yeah, because like most people here are not dumb. Like most Austrian people that I met are actually quite smart. So like I have no idea why you vote for such dumb people. But like again, like
but the thing is, like,
also,
we're annoyed. We're like, most people I know are like, I don't know who. Most people this election as well also like, I don't know who to vote for. Everybody's horrible.
yeah.
Like, so why are these people the ones that are like the face of their
Yeah.
parties?
But that's what I'm saying, because there are other parties that are not in parliament. If we just like don't vote to the traditional parties, you'll get like better parties in parliament.
Yeah.
But like, anyways, I think they're so stupid they won't be able to like implement anything they want to do. And like I think actually if they'll be in government now, it will be perfect, because then people will see how stupid they are and how incompetent they are, and they'll never be elected for government again.
I've heard that argument a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm so torn about that.
Yeah.
Because like I see the logic in that, but also it's so scary.
Yeah.
Like the idea of just like, oh, they can't do any harm, just let them do it. Like for me, it's like, is that from a perspective? Like, because I've had like people say that to me where I was like, you're speaking from quite a like privileged position where like if they do implement their like ideas, it won't affect you, but it will affect me and my family and my life. So I'm like, and my friends and people I know. So like I'm so torn on that argument, because I get it.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, yes, like, because if we don't let them do their stuff now, they definitely will get more powerful.
Exactly.
Like, I 100% agree with that, because people like are still a bit stupid. as intelligent as the average Austrian is, like I feel like not like kind of undercutting them and being like, no, actually, even though you got voted, you don't get to govern. People will get angry. It's popular. Like the FPÖ will have more like ammunition, like in the media as well. They're like, this is
it's anti-democratic. It's like it's really that the elites and the media are working against that. It would be very
100%.
very easy to make this argument.
They'll make the argument for itself. Like it's just like, it's just right there. And on the other hand, I'm like, but saying like, oh, the Nazis in the right wing can't do any harm, and let them do it for a little bit, just like historically from an Austrian perspective, is like the scariest thing ever.
True, but like another argument, and that's important, I think, like a lot of people like call these like new right-wing parties, these reactionary parties, like fascists. I'm sorry, I don't think they're fascists. Because like, and I'll tell you why. Because like, if you look at all historical fascist movements, they had two important elements that all these new right-wing parties throughout Europe don't have. They had armed militias that are paramilitary. All of these movements don't have them.
That's true. We're a neutral country.
Yeah, and they were, and they had these insane death cult ceremonies, and they worshipped death. Like the FPÖ are like stupid. You may even say they're evil, but they're not death worshippers. So like
they're just incredibly ignorant.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like these parties, like they're not good. They shouldn't be in government, right?
Yeah.
But like I think like saying that like these part like Marie Le Pen and like and the FPÖ and what's his name in the Netherlands, Geert Wilders.
I was thinking UK, the
Nigel
UKIP?
Farage.
Yeah.
Like all these people, they're not fascists, right? And I think calling them fascists is like the boy who cries wolf, because when the real fascists will come, people won't, they won't believe you anymore.
Yeah.
Because you said, but you said that these guys are fascists.
Yeah. I think I think that is like maybe a bit more of a theoretical, because like, yes, compared to like, obviously like, that was traditional fascism.
Yeah. Classic
fascism, opposed to like, like, I don't know, neo-fascism.
Yeah.
They don't have the same like first and foremost power, as you said, in military sense.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not as crazy, but I think those things grow in time, and I think it's a seed that makes a tree.
Yeah.
So like,
but this is again an argument to give them power in government, because it's again about this reactionary politics. Because
Yeah.
as long as all the parties will just ignore them and tell them like, we don't work with you, they will have to take on more extreme positions in order to get like media attention.
Yeah. I'm thinking very much like, how will it affect people right now?
Yeah.
And like, there's one thing of saying like, in the future, you know, like, can we hope for them getting less power? Or if we give them power now, they will also grow their power because they will put themselves in stronger positions. They will put funds in their own pockets and make sure they will grow and grow and grow and grow. I think that's very hard to predict. Yes,
for sure.
And I think for the like current living person, in any country, if you look at the UK with Brexit, like they've made lives for people worse in this lifetime, for people who are now who were fed an idea of like, we need Brexit because we need to keep foreigners out and it will make our country better. And who are now massively regretting it, and who are now like can't afford rent or heating. And
now there's even like more immigration. But it's just legal.
So like
they just lied to them. It's just like, again, this neoliberal lie.
Exactly. So it has made people's lives worse in a tangible current way.
True.
But of course, I get the idea of being like, is it still the smaller evil to what might come? But it's still a might. It's difficult.
No, for sure. I'm just saying, I think these like reactionary right-wing parties are often framed in a more extreme way that they actually are.
I think with Kickel especially, it's because a lot of the rhetoric is very Nazi-esque. Like they use terms like Volkskanzler. He calls himself the Volkskanzler, and that term was only used for Hitler. And that is a choice. That is a choice that he calls himself that.
Of course.
It's not. He can't claim ignorance and be like, "Oh, what? I didn't know that." Like he's
of course,
head of the party, and people have actively called him out on it. Like, and he still calls himself that. He makes a statement to be like, "Yes, call me that." Call me Volkskanzler as you did Hitler. Like that is a personal choice. And what does that say for intention? And what does that say for like stance?
True. But I mean, I think to get back to the question, I think Kickel is a bit like a spider, right?
We were on spiders.
He's spider-esque.
Yeah, he's definitely a spider. I might also call him a snake.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just the situation. I have to say, if it was the other way around, people were also scared. Like, imagine that the KPÖ would have become like as strong as the FPÖ. I think that a lot of people would be really scared from like the other side. They would try to like implement their crazy policies. They're like, they'll turn the frogs gay, you know? Like,
I don't understand that fear. I think
no, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I know that like you know, there's like fear on both sides. I am always like, okay, but which of those affects you personally, and which of those is realistic? Like, they'll turn the frogs gay, and everybody's gonna force me to be trans and gay and have transsexual illegal surgeries in prison, to quote Trump, is also used as a propaganda. Like that is literally saying like, people who want their personal freedom are gonna take my freedom away. They're evil. That's very tricky. That's a landmine to walk on, I think, because like equating people who are like can we give humans rights to like right-wing fascists? Yes, people would be afraid of that, but is it a realistic fear?
No, the fear is not about that because I have some conservative friends. Like the main fear is about social cohesion. I think for every functioning state, you have to have some level of social cohesion. Otherwise, everything falls apart. Can you agree with this statement?
Can you define it more? Like
you can't have a...
What do you mean by social cohesion?
You can't have a society where everyone is like their own thing, their own like special little snowflake, like they like to say, right? You have to have some kind of like a basis. Like in the US, you have the Constitution. You have to have like some kind of like a basis upon which people agree how they want to live their lives, right?
It's very abstract.
True. That's the problem. But like that's why they're afraid of like refugees, for example. Like you bring all these Muslim people, and they have like a very specific way of living, which is very different than the Austrian way of life traditionally, and this disrupts the social order. Like it can be disruptive in a good way, but it can be also disruptive in a destructive way because it makes people question the very basis of the state. And of course, you might think that this is great, and I might think this is great. But again, in order for the state to function, this is a problem. And most people still believe in the state. You know what I mean?
Okay, I just don't believe in the state. I think maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, and then comes the question, so why do you vote if you don't believe in the state?
Because I still live in it.
You see, so it's not black and white. It's not either you believe in the state or not believe.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't say like I don't believe in the state.
Yeah.
That's not my stance. Like I'm also not like an anarchist.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I'm just thinking of like, say, for an example, we take London. Obviously, London is a bubble in itself.
Yes.
From like that you have maybe England. You have England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, which form the UK but are different in themselves, in their politics. And you have London. And London is like a crazy bubble.
Yeah.
Whenever I go to London, I feel, I mean, it's crazy because it's super busy, but I also feel extremely comfortable because nowhere in Europe can I be around so many people who are so different in one place, who are so harmonious in a way. Yes, they're grumpy, they're Londoners, but they get along.
Yes.
And I have a lot of friends from London living in Austria who are scared by the uniformity of Austria. Yeah. Austria is extremely white. In its largest amount. Austria is extremely white compared to like a lot of other places in the world and specifically larger cities. Even Vienna is extremely white compared to like London. And a lot of my friends from UK, that makes them uneasy in Austria. And it makes them especially uneasy, and it makes me uneasy that when there's the slightest bit of variation in Austria, say you have people moving in from like Muslim countries or Jewish countries who like are brown.
There's only one Jewish country.
Like Jewish, countries was very absolutely. They immediately feel threatened. Yeah. Because it adds variation to the culture and to the people and to the life. But my friends from London would still consider a lot of people from the Middle East white. Like we've had this conversation where they were like, "Oh, but the place is so white," and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people from Turkey and from the Arab Emirates and so on." And they were like, "Yeah, but those are still white," and they don't necessarily consider them a different like that is like a very London thing as well, where it's like there's so much variety in this way that like racism looks different. Like racism looks completely different in the UK. Like in the UK, people are racist towards Polish people, even though they're white, but they're considered like, you know, they're like working class.
Yeah, it's probably mainly because they're Catholic.
Also, whereas like Austrians are happily racist towards people from Turkey or also people from like the Balkans. Whereas like, why are white people racist towards other white people? That's crazy. I think we need a little bit more variation in Austria.
No, I'm not saying
culture.
I'm not saying that variation is bad. I'm just saying that like I can understand the fears of people of like too much variation that can lead to complete like social incohesion.
We've never had that. Like, when have we ever had that? What is like? Can you give me an example of complete social incohesion?
Historically, you mean?
Or in the world right now?
It's a good question.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Like I'm trying to make the argument for a side that I don't.
I know.
Yeah. But like.
But I think for me that's something I can't grasp. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's really interesting now in the States to see what's going to happen because you have so many people coming from Spanish-speaking countries, and Spanish is almost becoming like a second language.
Yeah.
And like the ripple effects of this thing like will be insane. Like maybe insanely good or insanely bad. We don't know yet.
People speaking more languages is never a bad thing, in my opinion. And we have areas in Austria where it's like that.
Yeah. I mean, I get like...
with Slovenia.
Yeah. I mean, look at the history of China, for example.
Yeah.
It has like a history, or Japan. It's the same thing. They had a history of like breaking apart and like unification, breaking apart, unification.
Yeah.
So maybe people have a fear of that like you get like after World War II, you got Europe in such like a delicate state of like countries like actually getting along after like people couldn't like stop murdering each other for hundreds of years.
Yes.
And they're afraid of like, if you bring up like more people of different types and different beliefs and different cultures, it will disrupt this balance and you'll be like at war again.
Yeah.
Like I can understand this fear theoretically.
Yeah, for me, I can understand it, but only in a very theoretical sense. I think like I see that, and I see that in like listening to like the kind of more right-wing rhetoric discussions. Where I think you're making a good point. That is, I think, a lot of what their fears, like, where they come from. Like, yeah. But obviously, in a practical way, from my life experience, being challenged in your ideas and being confronted with different things is a good thing.
Yeah.
And even if it sometimes creates a bit of chaos, like, I think in the long term, as human race, we need to rethink our ideas of what separates us and what makes us different and what makes us similar.
Yeah.
And if you think of the global world in a like online way, there's no borders already.
Yeah.
But physically and financially, I think a lot of it comes from money. A lot of it comes from like, of course, safety and like security and financial security, because any country who's ever experienced poverty wants to avoid that at any cost. And
yes.
Absolutely, that like coming from a family that's quite poor, like you need to make sure your poorest are taken care of. I don't believe that.
No, I'm not talking about them. Like the politicians, as we said, are completely stupid. I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the people that they have their own fears, and like the politicians, like they take these fears and they manage to motivate people to vote according to these fears. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know what you were saying. I was just bringing it back to the yeah.
This question was about spiders.
God.
So
to social annihilation. No. Okay.
Maybe you should go quicker through these questions.
Yeah, we've got.
It's like I want to put a cap on the 10 minutes mark, but it's always so interesting, the discussion.
I know, right? It's difficult.
Yeah.
Let's get through the last ones.
Yeah. Good.
Speed round.
Yeah, cool. Speed round. What's your spirit animal? That's
What? Really?
No.
Okay. We can do that. Snow leopard.
Okay. Assuming there are any types of limitations you could think of, financial, time, like any type of limitations you could imagine, what's your big fantasy project?
Ooh. Oh my God. I have one. I definitely have one. So I started when I was a teenager in kind of like painting, and went into oil painting.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do a lot of digital illustration.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, I was given a chance by a friend who I think likes to think himself a bit of an art benefactor, kind of like, he sponsors the arts a little bit. Mm-hmm. And my friend and I were invited to do a big wall mural in one of his like spaces. Like basically, so he has a farm and like he has a building that's attached to his like old family farm, and he like asked loads of different artists to do something in that space, whatever they wanted to do. It could be a sculpture, could be like a painting or whatever. And my friend and I did a 30 by 30 square meter wall mural with regular colors and then also with glow in the dark black light colors. And then there was a party in that space with black light lamps.
Yeah.
We painted a huge jungle with like snakes and animals in it, and certain things were glow in the dark. So like their eyes and things were like glow in the dark. So it looked really cool and creepy during the party because there was like fog and there was black light.
Yeah.
I really want to do a giant wall mural, but like give me the space, pay me the paints.
Like the Sistine Chapel.
Yes, but like without like angels and baby butts. Just like I want to do some really
glowing baby butts.
Yes, I want to do some really cool, I want to do some really cool shit in a really big space.
Yeah,
because like when I used to do oil painting, my favorite thing was always a big canvas. And a wall or like a physical space for me is like such a fun thing to work with. Like my friend, she and her girlfriend bought a house like 2 years ago in Slovenia, and they've actually asked me to do a wall mural there, which I'm super excited for, but we haven't gone around to do it yet because I have to go down to Slovenia to do it. But that's kind of like my next mural I'm doing. I'm super excited for.
Nice.
And I know an artist in Graz, Anja. Last name I forgot, unfortunately.
Okay.
And she's specifically a mural artist. She does really cool stuff in like office spaces and things. People pay her to come and paint the walls. I'm like, girl, you've got my dream job. Like, I'm so jealous of her. She does really cool projects. And I'm always like, I want to be your best friend and work with you. But she doesn't really know me. Like, we've kind of like been in the same spaces a few times. And like, I think she actually came to my office once last year to like get help with social media stuff. And I was just like, I'm her biggest fan. But I was not in the meeting with her. So like, I'm kind of just fangirling a little bit over her.
Just follow your brother's footsteps. Just like tell her like,
just go do it.
Yeah, we're going to work together.
Yeah. I have messaged her at one point being like, do you want to do something together? And she was like, yeah, sure. But I think it's then hard to be like, have a specific project.
Yeah, you need to be more concrete.
And also for her to think of me, I think of course it's also her job. So like her doing it with me, like cuts into her pay. And with any, like, I understand freelance work. Like, you need to get paid when you get paid.
Yeah.
And, like, giving away half the money is, like, not ideal for anybody who works in the freelance arts.
Of course.
So, like, but if there was ever a project, just shout out. I'm down. I want to paint some walls.
Great.
Some huge walls. Sounds weird, but yeah.
Okay, so to painting huge walls?
Yeah. Let's do that. I think we're on to my last question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And my last question is a technical question. It's a yeah. So as somebody who in their like work and office life does a lot of filming as well, I'm very curious about your camera.
Okay.
And I'd like to know what kind of camera it is exactly. And B, what made you choose it and what the benefits of that kind of camera is, because I've never actually seen this kind of camera.
Yeah.
It's like, it fascinates me.
It's
It's
so
just like,
cool, right?
for anybody who didn't, obviously you can't see it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a block. It just
It's a cube,
It's
yeah.
a cube. It's a cube that you put a lens onto, but it doesn't have a screen itself. And it's
Yep.
just, it looks a bit like a giant black Rubik's Cube. And I've never seen this.
Okay, so that's like so it's a thing that like developed in the past few years. Like it's a whole genre of like kind of like video cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So the camera itself, it's the BGH1. It's like a Panasonic Lumix.
Okay.
So it's like a cube or a box camera, as you call
Yeah.
it. So in the past few years, there has been this like movement of like making videos on like DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, because they're more cinematic than the traditional like video cameras.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in the past few years, there have been these companies like Red and like what's their name also? I don't remember the other company, but like also Panasonic, that they made these cameras that are basically cubes, and they're very generic. So they have all these like peripherals, and you can connect it to like a lot of stuff, both like to HDMI and USB, and like you can connect lights to it. You connect it to a sound system. You can connect it to a LAN. So you can, like, if I'll have, for example, and I'm planning to buy more of this exact model.
Yeah.
If you have multiple of these, you can connect all of them through LAN to the same network, and then you can control them remotely.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and start recording at the same time. It's like, it's amazing.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm amazed.
Yeah. So these cameras are like really, really cool, and like they're really high quality. Like this specific model is like, I always say this to people, this is like the cheapest Netflix approved camera model. So like you can use this camera to film a Netflix show.
So like, does Netflix use these kind of cameras? Is that what they're using?
I mean,
is that what you're
Netflix,
saying?
it's like the way it works with Netflix, it's like licensing, right? They like license your show.
Yeah.
Like they produce
But they also
it and
have like their own productions.
Yes, but when they produce something, it's like usually like you come up with something, you contact Netflix, and you tell him,
Yeah.
I have this concept for a show. You usually make a trailer in advance, you show that to them. But they're not so much involved in like the technical aspects as far as I understand, but they have some standards.
Yeah.
So there are some cameras that like are below standard, and like
I
some
see.
cameras that are approved.
Like you need to work with a minimum of this tech.
Exactly. So this
see,
camera
yeah.
is the cheapest one approved for
Can
making
I
a Netflix
ask how
show.
much it is?
Yes. So it's around 2,000 euros.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not that much for what you actually get.
Yeah.
The only issue is that you need to also buy a lens separately. If you want to film outside, you need to buy like a screen.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that you need to go with it, because the cube by itself.
Yeah, it's worthless.
It's worthless.
On its own. Yeah. You have to at least have a lens.
But that's always the thing with filming. Like, I
Yeah.
know that from my work as well. Like, we, we had a really good camera. I was like, okay, we got this really fancy new lens. Okay, but actually, if we're doing this and this and this, we need a gimbal. So like, but if we need that, it would actually be good to have the like special arm that you can attach.
Yeah.
And then actually, next thing is we're getting like a cage.
Yes.
You can, and so there's like constantly
Yeah,
investing in
of course.
tech.
I mean, that's how this industry is built. It's
Yes.
like, it's all about like consumerism. It's like,
Yeah, you need the newest, best tech.
Yeah.
So like,
no, it's also like this camera is built in a way that like you said, you need more stuff.
exactly. It doesn't just work with one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when I always buy things, like also like my Zoom F8 F6
the
or
sound machine.
Yeah, exactly. The sound machine, the sound card. So it's also like I always try to buy these high-end, very generic stuff, because like then it allows me a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
I'm really not a fan of like buying like this very like dedicated thing, because of course you have cameras for everything. Like you have cameras for podcasts, you have cameras for making films, you have cameras for webcams, but like the nice thing about this one is that it's very generic and you can do anything with it. It connects basically to any standard type of connection, like USB-C, HDMI.
Very nice.
So it's like all of these things, and like it has all these like places for screws, like where I put the lights, and you can also put a screen on it.
I've never seen somebody attach lights to their camera. Like that is, I wish you could see this because it's weird, but it looks really cool.
Yeah.
The lights you've got, like, so you've got like a blue light and a pink light attached to create this kind of like scene.
Yeah.
Are these lights, can you change the color of the light?
Yeah, of course. It's completely flexible.
So
and like,
each of them can be any color.
Yeah, and it's even programmable. Like I can connect them to the computer and I can program them to change and even react to things that happen in the video. Like it's very like I said, all the equipment that I buy, I try to make it as generic as possible, so I would have the options to make more
adjust it to what you need as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's one of the most important aspects when you, for like any kind of like artist or anything you work with, like when you buy any kind of equipment, it's always trying to think about what are all of the options I could possibly need this for.
Yes.
And what are actually the scenarios that I work in where it needs to be adaptable to that.
Yes.
Like I used to, with like illustration, because I come from like a painting background, and then I used to started illustrating at uni because I studied graphic design, but I used to do painting, and my teacher was like, I think you would be really into, like, have you ever thought of being an illustrator? Because you're actually that cut between painting and graphic design, that middle bit that you feel torn about where you don't know what to do, that middle bit is illustration. Have you ever tried it?
Amazing.
And I was like, had never thought about that. It's like I always thought I had to be either a painter or a graphic designer. And then I started doing a lot of illustration at uni and continuing forward, but I always did like analog, because I could do graphic design and stuff on a computer, but for illustrating on a tablet, it's a bit hard. Like the old tablets where you can't see what you're drawing. And just like in Illustrator, you have to draw paths and things. And I found that very tedious for the kind of illustrations I was doing. And years went by and I kind of stopped illustrating a bit because I found the process frustrating of illustrating by hand and then having to scan it in or photograph it and then make it accessible for digital. And then I got a revolution that was just called the iPad.
Amazing.
Which I had never thought about buying until I was talking to a lot of different friends who were working on an iPad. And I was like, oh, it's too expensive. Like, I'm like really broke. Like, I can't buy an iPad by myself. And my partner and I were talking, and they're a writer. And they write also like on the go and like in a coffee shop, and they were like, we could like split these on an iPad and we can illustrate. That honestly, getting the right tech has kind of changed my life. Because it means I can work when I want, where I want, and it made the process so much easier for myself. So sometimes having the right tech and it being adaptable to your line of work specifically or your projects plural is like it's like a life changer. It's a game changer.
True.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm not making the life easier for myself.
You're making your life harder.
No, because like this, like generic, usually these generic equipments, like they're not, they're very unwieldy.
Okay.
Like you saw now with all the setup, especially because I don't have like like, first of all, like the reason I have this equipment that I'm trying to make it as generic as possible is because like I'm trying to start like a studio, right? So it's like I need to be as flexible as possible to be able to make as many types of productions as possible. But like one of the ideals of the studio is that we're not using any proprietary software. It's all open source.
Mm-hmm.
So to make the software work with this equipment and to make it work well and to make the sound synchronized with the video, this is very challenging.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see a lot of problems arising with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the iPad definitely makes it easier because it's like Apple, and like Apple makes everything like very easy out of the box.
They're trying to
which
make
is
it
great.
very user friendly.
Yeah.
They have like a lot of other things to fault them with, but like user friendliness is not one of them.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool.
Right.
So to
good equipment.
To good equipment.
I actually almost finished that whiskey, which I'm impressed by. When you told me we'd be drinking whiskey at 10 a.m., I didn't think I would be getting through a single sip. Ooh.
And you know when it's a good whiskey.
You can just drink it.
No.
It's fine. Like, it doesn't even hurt that much.
So,
your last question.
Last question.
Oh God.
My last question, the last question of the
show. Yeah.
So that's what I ask all my guests as the last question. Tell us about something cool you're currently working on.
Ooh. That I'm currently working on.
Yeah.
So I've actually just finished my current 2 projects.
Mm-hmm.
So
tell us about them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you finished working on them and they'll be published soon?
Yeah, so one of them was already exhibited and the other one is going into print like next week.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them was an illustration project and the other one was kind of a bit more like an artsy project.
Okay. Tell us about both.
So the illustration one is maybe like easier to explain. So go first. It's for the Dust City Rollers in Graz, which is a sports team, the roller derby team.
Mm-hmm.
And they came to me for a custom shirt illustration.
Mm-hmm.
So they always have big competitions and they have their like team shirts. And they specifically wanted to make a statement with this, that the statement on the shirt as well is trans people belong in sports. Mm-hmm. Because there is a very large political movement of excluding trans people from doing sports, which is just like silly. I'm sure we can find a way socially to let everybody do a sport, and do it in a team and do it competitively. I think gender or personal reasons should not be the problem, but we like to exclude people. So trans people do belong in sports, and they wanted to work specifically with a queer artist to do that, which I think is very honorable. And we worked on a really cool illustration, basically just like of a person that, like one figure in the kind of roller derby outfit. So they have the roller derby shoes, like the skates. They're like 4. But they're like different from like everyday use. They're like sports skates. They're kind of slightly different. And obviously they wear like helmets and gear. And so it's like a person in their gear with like the statement on. So quite simple. That's kind of finished now. A very simple project, but like a fun little project. And I always love these little illustration projects. And then the other one is a bit more, I had to go into very deep kind of theories and feminist theories.
Okay.
So the other project was I was approached by somebody I've worked with who did kind of like work as a gallerist, but she's currently working with the university and she has less time for the kind of like gallerist activities, but she still has all of our contacts from the kind of gallery. And they've at the University Graz, they put on every year, I'm not sure if it's every year, the ÖGGF. It's
what
like,
is that?
I'm not entirely sure what the shortening stands for, but it's a big conference on gender inequality and like women's equality in a universital context, because you have a lot of women working, a lot of women studying at universities now. Actually, more women studying at the university than men in Austria, but the leadership and the head of universities are exclusively old white men. And there's a certain kind of like,
it's like a generational gap, basically.
yeah, and that is what's called, and that was part of my project, the kind of leaky pipeline, where you have a lot of the water when you start, and some along the way there's holes and people get lost, and then higher you get up the food chain, suddenly where are all these women gone? Where are all these women that are studying and are experts in their fields? They're not making it up to the leadership positions for certain reasons. And they had the ÖGGF, the Conference for Women's Inequality, and they asked me and like 3 other artists, one of them was Cleo, to exhibit in the main hall in the space that the conference was being held. And we were each given a topic to create an art piece for in like kind of A1 or A2, but it was being hung. There's like 4 pillars, and they hung them right across from the portraits of the white male leadership of the presidents of the university, and they were hung right across.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So quite a statement. And yeah, mine, the topic I was given was the kind of leaky pipeline concept in a general of like bottom up kind of the women getting lost in the process. And then I was also given a few different names of women who are top of their field. And they're not just top of the field, but they were the first. So it's the idea of being the first woman to do something, or the first woman to be president of something. You know, like in Austria, we have not had a female president, for example. So once we get...
Or a chancellor, right?
Or a chancellor. Yeah. So like if we were to have one, she would be the first in her field. And what does that mean? So I created an illustration to go with this, and it was like a combination of like kind of shapes and outlines with a certain statement. And the statement that, once I was approached with this project, the statement that was just ringing in my head was actually from an advertisement from, I think it was BMW. And it was this year for the International Women's Day. BMW released an ad with a little girl, and she wants to be a scientist or whatever. And as women are often told, you are extraordinary. Like, you will make it in your field because you are special. You're different from the other women. You are And it's quite powerful ad, actually, because like they see this little girl in the end, and she says, I don't want to be the first. I don't want to be the only one. I want to be one of many. I want to be one of many women in my field. And it's always her alone in like a science lab with all men. And her alone in school, and it's all men. And she's the only one. But that is a feeling of loneliness, of like, I'm the only one here and everybody else looks at me as different. So we often celebrate women for being, she was the first woman to do this. But why does she have to be? Like, why can't there be many women in science?
I mean, you have to have a first.
Yeah, of course you have to have a first. But I think the next step is to have many. And it's not to be special to be a woman in your field. It's just like, I'm just a woman and I'm doing this job. It's not like, oh my God, you're a woman in tech? That's crazy. Like, no, it's just like, there's lots of women in tech. What's the problem? And I think it's taking that next step. So that was the statement I worked with, was I don't want to be the only one. I don't want to be the first.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this will be exhibited?
It already was.
It already was.
It was. The conference was like 2 weeks ago. And it was only exhibited during the conference. So sadly, it's already over.
Cool.
And I have no idea what happened with the piece after. I actually have to ask her. But they bought it off me, so they can do with it as they please.
So it
now
might be still exhibited
it's
somewhere.
Now in the position of the university. I'm pretty sure it's no longer exhibited because it was a statement also kind of tickling the heads of the university. So I'm not sure they want to have it up all the time because it's a bit of a challenge of like, why are there no women in leadership at this university? So it might like rub some people the wrong way. And from what I know from the like because it's from the Department of Women and Equality at the university, the kind of gender studies. I think they just got special permission to exhibit during a special time, and then they had to take it down again.
I see.
So I think now it's probably in storage somewhere.
I see.
I'll have to check. It is available to buy. So like I do have they were very, very sweet because they like Faye, who's the woman who works there, who I know, who's the gallerist. She's very adamant to take good care of her artists and to represent artists well. And she likes to work specifically with like women and underrepresented artists, so of any kind. And she fought very hard to get a special like legal thing drafted as well. That was like, we buy the right of you to exhibit it, but you can still sell it. Like if
you still have the right for the art
we're
itself.
gonna pay you this full amount for the exhibition.
Yeah.
But then also if somebody wants to buy it, you can sell it for however much you want. Like we're not gonna have to keep it. So like
that's cool.
I have to check with her. Maybe we can get it. I can get it home and then I can sell it. I don't know what the long-term process is.
Yeah.
Haven't had any time to check up on that.
Cool.
So yeah, that was that project. I don't think I have any big art projects lined up coming up. I have my surgery lined up, so I've kind of put a bit of a pause on it, and I've not lined up any new projects because I'm not gonna have any. I'm gonna be in bed trying to heal.
Yeah, it'll take some time to recover.
Yeah,
I guess.
so I'm not gonna have any time to work on it. So, but I'm looking forward to the next. I feel like since I've like, because I used to always work little side projects, but my main hustle is always my kind of office job, and financially it still is. But I also didn't used to take myself as serious as I could as an artist and as an illustrator. I think I'm a good artist and a good illustrator. I don't know, whatever that means. But I used to take, I used to treat it like it was a hobby. Until like a few years ago, I started getting more people approaching me, and I was like, I should really, if I want to do this, I should take myself seriously and, register as a business and, like do it properly. And the moment I started doing that, people started approaching me like way more for like projects and art projects.
Cool.
And I felt like there was like a shift once I started taking myself seriously, other people did as well. And I still work 30 hours a week in an agency, so I don't have all the time to do projects. But for some reason, the last 2 years, there's always been one after the other. So this is weird. I don't know if it's karmic or whatever it is, but whenever I finish a project, a new one comes up. And
amazing.
I think word does get around, and I do a little bit of social media stuff, but I've honestly been quite lazy on my Instagram. I've had too many other things on my mind.
That's good. I encourage people to be lazy on their Instagram. They should be so lazy that they shut it off.
Oh God, I'm a social media manager. Well, I can't say that. I've not done crazy amounts of advertising for myself, but somehow
and still you get jobs.
I always get approached for these little projects where I'm like, I have just the amount of time to do that.
Cool.
Not more than that, but I'm also glad I don't have no work.
Well,
so
it's cool. It means it's vibes with people.
Yeah, and that's really nice. That's
cool.
Yeah.
So you were talking about taking yourself seriously.
Yeah.
So I have a word of advice, and we can drink to that.
Don't take yourself seriously.
Yeah. Don't take yourself too seriously.
Never too seriously. No. Cheers. Finished it.
Yep.
I managed.
Manu, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
We'll have all your links in the thing.
Excellent.
And people can see your things.
My links are in the thing.
Her links are in the Their links are in the thing.
Excellent.
You see, I'm still completely ignorant.
That's completely fine. That's completely fine. I misgender myself sometimes. It's fine.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I do all the time. Very weird.